Hello everyone, this is Zooc, and today I'm going to be talking a bit about the Witch Doctor and showing you like a little bit of, let's say, end game playing. I just finished the normal playthrough a couple of minutes ago, so I actually killed Diablo and everything, game over, la la la. It was easy, especially with the Witch Doctor. I think it's a very, very good class. Like, I had my doubts at the beginning because it was kind of weakish, but once I got the higher level abilities, I had no doubt that this would be a pretty awesome class, especially for grinding and soloing shit. I think you can solo just about anything in the game with it right now. I'm not sure how Nightmare is because I've barely started playing it, but we'll see later on. But so far it looks promising, at least. The reason I'm making this video, besides showing like a little bit of the Diablo fight and like later mobs, is to talk about like abilities for the Witch Doctor, because I tried them all. I was very thorough with it, and I think it's important that you get a good rotation, so to say. You can't really call it a rotation, but it's sort of like it early on, so you get the most out of your grinding. Unfortunately, it doesn't say on the tooltips at which level you get the ability, so I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to provide that additional information. But to begin with, your main ability, number one, key one, is your zombie dogs. Zombie dogs are permanent. You can summon 3 of them. Cooldown is 60 seconds. Cost is not a lot. Let's just put it like that. They don't do a lot of damage. Each of them does 9% of your weapon damage, but that's not the point. It's not their damage that makes them so good. It's their tanking. They're not extremely resilient, but they're resilient enough to make it worth having them on your bar. Like, in a few situations, they have actually saved my life, both in a trash pack and in a boss fight. So, pretty good stuff, pretty good ability. You can have 4 of them if you grab the passive ability, Zombie Handler, which allows you to have 4 dogs. It increases their health and your zombies' health by 20%. So it's really good. It gives them more tanking ability. I went with this ability throughout the entire game, so I guess I would recommend it at this point. I don't see a reason not to. Now for number 2, and this is the AoE build, because with the Witch Doctor I came to the conclusion that you can't really use the same abilities, obviously, for AoE and single target DPS. It just doesn't work. You need AoE stuff for grinding, and you need powerful single target dots and spells for boss fights. You can't use the same. So number 2 on the bar for solo grinding is going to be Soul Harvest. Soul Harvest, what it does, it has a 15-second cooldown. It feeds on the life force of up to 5 enemies within a certain range, this one being 16 yards, and you gain 74 intelligence for each affected enemy for 30 seconds. So it stacks and intelligent. It gives you damage, it gives you resistance, it's the primary attribute for the Witch Doctor, so it increases your primary attribute. Really good stuff. Now, once you get higher up, you can get a rune for it called Siphon, which it makes the Soul Harvest give you 400 life for every single enemy harvested. That basically fills up your entire health bar to the top, so you don't need to pop any pots. You can just pop that, and you just like AoE a mob pack and put it under it, like get close, pop that, and you don't have to worry about health whatsoever. The other runes which you'll be getting is one that reduces movement, one that increases the duration to 60 seconds, and one that does 70% weapon damage as physical, on top of giving you intellect, but at the same time you don't get the health anymore. So you do get the int, but you don't get the health. I guess if you can manage to get the health or not lose the health at all, the one you get at level 49 would be a better alternative. But so far, Siphon seems to be pretty damn good for soloing. With zombie dogs, the rune I picked is Rabbit Dogs. It's the first rune you get. They get an infectious bite that deals 9% of your weapon damage as poison over 3 seconds. So it gives them dots. Doesn't give them anything else, but that's a little bit of extra boost. Like, I went with pure damage maximizing here, like getting through shit as fast as possible. It didn't take me that little time to get to level 32 and finish the game. It says on the character sheet that I played it for 16 hours, but it was much less than that. I think it was about 12 hours because I spent a lot of time AFK, tabbed out so I wouldn't lose my spot on the server, because the servers are a bit shaky right now from everyone wanting to log on. The other runes which you get for zombie dogs can be one which makes them have a 15% chance to leave behind a health globe when they die. Not the best ever, I guess. I mean, sure, like, health globes are all over the place, but I don't see a reason to pick that over extra DPS. The other one is lifelink, which makes your dogs absorb 10% of damage done to you. They're pretty squishy enough, so I wouldn't really recommend that. Like, you have ways of getting your HP back. They really don't. And if you summon them in a pack, like you're about to die, and then they insta-die because you're the one taking damage, didn't really solve a lot. Didn't really do much, so probably wouldn't pick that. The other one is Burning Dog. Zombie dogs burst into flames, burning nearby enemies for 2% of your weapon damage as fire. That might be good, but you need a weapon. Like, for all abilities, really, you need a decent damage weapon, because I couldn't find a fucking proper dagger until like level 28 or something. And it's so noticeable when you change your weapon and you have a higher damage weapon. Like, everything you do just does so much more damage. So I guess 2% of your weapon damage as an immolation effect would be fine, because mobs tend to sort of bunch up a lot, especially in tight corridors. So yeah, that might be a better alternative than rabid dogs. And then the other one is Leeching Beasts, and your zombie dogs gain 50% damage they deal as life, half of which heals you. This might probably be the best one, really, for soloing everything you would ever want to solo, but it opens up at level 54, so that's kind of a problem. For ability number 3, which is an AoE ability, just like number 2, which number 2 doesn't really do damage, but it still sort of counts as AoE. Number 3, Acid Cloud. Acid Cloud is an absolute must. It's an ability that causes acid to rain down, dealing 100% weapon damage as poison, followed by 75% weapon damage as poison over 3 seconds. Extremely, extremely good. Zombie Charger, not so good. Wall of Zombies, didn't really like it, has a very long cooldown. It has a 25-second cooldown, and when you're trying to kill a pack, 25 seconds is a whole lot of time. 25 seconds, that is 7 times the amount that I spend on a pack. The rune which you want for Acid Cloud is Lob Blob Bomb, which makes them form a puddle of slime under where it rains, and which deals 25% weapon damage as poison over 5 seconds. It doesn't seem like a lot, but it does stack with all the other AoE abilities you have, so not so bad. The ones you get afterwards, from level 39 to 46 to 55, are Acid Cloud, which increases the duration of the pool of acid up to 6 seconds. That might be pretty good. Kiss of Death, spit a cloud of acid that inflicts 110% weapon damage, followed by 83%. Thing is, enemies don't really stay in the same area, they move a lot, so this only counts for enemies that remain in the area. Like, you want to get rid of them quick, you don't really want to fuck around and try to position shit. Just nuke the shit out of them as fast as possible, and whatever lives, pick him off with a single target ability. But yeah, Acid Rain is the first one you get, which increases the AoE effect to 24 yards. That's decent. But as soon as you get Lob Blob Bomb, switch to that, because it's worthwhile. Ability number 4 is Voodoo, Gargantuan. Summons a Gargantuan zombie. It does 25% weapon damage. Doesn't seem like a lot, but it's a very, very good tank. Like, it lives for freaking ever. Saved my ass so many times from level whatever the fuck. I don't know what level you get him at, unfortunately. But as soon as you get him, use him, because he is really good. Like, you rely heavily on pets, just like a necromancer, just like a warlock from World of Warcraft. You can't really go out and tank shit, so you need these guys. You need the zombie dogs, and you need the Gargantuan, and you also need a Templar mercenary. Don't go with the sorceress, because it's, you know, you're a girl and whatever. Just get the Templar, because it heals you, it heals stuff around him, it heals himself. And it's a very good tank as well, especially if you buff him up with some rare items. So you'll have 4 dogs, a zombie, and a Templar. So that's 6 mobs after you. And you have actually more mobs because one of the passive skills that I'm using is called Fetish Sycophants, which makes you have a 3% chance to summon a dagger-wielding fetish to fight by your side for 60 seconds every time you use a physical realm spell, which is Poison Dart, Fire Bat, Firebomb, Locust Swarm, Acid Cloud, Wall of Zombies, Zombie Charger, Plague of Toads. A lot of the abilities that you would normally use anyway. So it procs a whole lot, like 3% is not a small amount. Oftentimes I have like an entire army of 7 or 8 of them after me at the same time, so it's good. Pick that. The third passive which I'm using is Spiritual Attunement. Maximum mana is increased by 20%, regenerates 1% of your maximum mana per second. You can't really do, or I can't really do without that because I have my skills which I spam, and without that extra 20% and the regen, it just seems really slow, and oftentimes I find myself not having mana when I actually do need it instead of having a little bit of extra. So we'll see later on what 3 passives I'll have, but for now these 3 seem good for the purpose. For the primary attack, there is no doubt in my mind that Firebomb, which is the last ability you get in the tree, is by far the best one. The first rune you get with Firebomb, well, let me read what Firebomb does in case you don't know. Firebomb, lob an explosive skull that deals 85% weapon damage as fire to all enemies within 8 yards. 85% doesn't seem like a lot compared to other abilities in the game, but it is because it has a very fast fire rate and it's constant bombardment. So their HP goes down like nothing, especially compared with Acid Rain. Not compared, but mixed with Acid Rain and Locust Swarm, which I'll talk about in a second. So really good AoE stuff. The first rune you get for it is Flash Fire, which basically makes the skulls bounce to up to 6 targets instead of exploding as soon as they land. That's not very good. It takes more time killing shit than with the default Firebomb. But the next one you get after that, which is called Roll the Bones, allows the skull to bounce up to 2 times. So you get 3 explosions for 1 click. And especially when mobs bunch up in the back somewhere, or you want to just clear out an entire room, that's really good. So definitely use Roll the Bones. Plague of Toads, not the best, just because it's so random and the toads scatter all over the place, and it kind of, it's just annoying because you sometimes get like 1 mob left that didn't get hit by a toad, and then you gotta pull out the fucking Poison Dart or go up to it and try spamming Plague of Toads to just catch that 1 mob. So kind of annoying. But yeah, Firebomb with the rune I mentioned is really good. For the secondary attack, Grasp of the Dead might be decent for a group situation where you have to immobilize mobs and just nuke the fuck out of them, like in a nightmare instance. Fire Bats, the best shit ever. Almost the best shit ever. Fire Bats with Dire Bat's rune, which is the first one you get. Fire Bats, 150% weapon damage as fire. Dire Bats, you summon fewer but larger bats that travel further ahead and hit for 220% weapon damage. I use this for probably more than half of my leveling. Really solid ability. Like, it does a whole fucking lot of damage. I think you can spam it like 6 times before running out of mana as a Witch Doctor, but you spam it 3 times and the entire pack is dead just from that one ability. Like, it does a fuck ton of damage. But the one I used all the way to the end is Locust Swarm, which is pretty amazing. Unleashes a plague of locusts that swarms an enemy, dealing 360% weapon damage as poison over 8 seconds. All of these dots kind of seem like they last a whole lot, but they don't once you combine them, just because it's just a lot of damage, and plus you're nuking at the same time with the firebomb, so that really stacks it up. Makes you wipe through a whole pack in about 3 seconds max on a bad day. The first rune you get is Pestilence, which is really good. It makes the Locust Swarm have a 100% chance to jump to 2 additional targets instead of 1. So that's more DPS because it spreads faster. The next one you get is Devouring Swarm, which makes you gain mana for every enemy affected by the swarm. At the same time, it doesn't infect a lot of enemies, So therefore you lose DPS even if you think you're not, because it has a rather limited range. So you have to get up pretty up close to cast it. It has to catch on to an enemy, and then it has to spread to the others. So if you keep doing that all the time and you don't really want to sit there with your face in their face, like making out with the mobs, because they'll hit you, like they'll go after you. Kind of want to stay in the back somewhere and let the zombies and the dogs and the Templars do the dirty work. So walk up close, cast Locust Swarm, cast Acid Cloud, cast your Soul Harvest, go back, spam fire bombs on their asses, cast another Acid Rain, and they should be dead and buried by then, within a couple of seconds. Really, it doesn't take more than that. So that's it for the AoE stuff. As for the single target stuff, I'm sure you can figure it out. Ability number 1 is still zombie dogs, still rabbit dogs, pretty much the same thing. Ability number 2 is Soul Harvest, pretty much the same thing. Number 3, instead of Acid Cloud, Spirit Barrage. Spirit Barrage makes you bombard the target with a Spirit Blast that deals 190% weapon damage as physical. Now a rune for that is Spirit is Willing. Makes you gain 32 mana every time Spirit Barrage hits. So if you're nuking one target, it's gonna hit every single time, if you're decent at aiming, somewhat at least. And so that won't be a problem at all. Getting a lot of mana back for it, and you'll be able to do more damage directly through that. Ability number 4 is gonna be Gargantuan. Don't really see a reason not to have that. Kind of good tank. Ability number, attack ability number 1 is gonna be Poison Dart. Not Firebomb. Firebomb is pretty shit for single target DPS. Like, it's just not good. Poison Dart with the Splinters rune, which is the first one you get, makes you shoot 3 poison darts that deal 60% weapon damage each. Very high DPS for single target. Basically, you'll see it in my Diablo fight that I'm like machine gunning his ass with poison darts. It's better than Firebomb. Just trust me on it. And attack ability number 2 is going to be Haunt. Haunt an enemy spirit, dealing 575% weapon damage as arcane over 12 seconds. Very high damage, and you combine that with the second rune called Resentful Spirit, which summons another Vengeful Spirit that does 288% weapon damage over 2 seconds. So that's 144 DPS extra just from using one rune. So you use that, like you engage the boss, you use that, you use Haunt, and then you spam not Soul Harvest, but you spam Spirit Barrage a little bit, and when your mana goes out, you just click like what's it called? Poison Dart, just machine gun for a little bit until your mana goes back up, because it will go back up. Then hit Haunt again, then the other stuff again, Spirit Barrage again, and then Poison Dart again, and it's pretty high damage. At the same time, gotta watch out for when the zombie dogs die, because it is very likely that they will get killed a lot of times throughout the fight, but that's fine. Just respawn them, run away, let the boss trip on the dogs and like start smacking the shit out of them, and just go back and do your thing. It's really good. So I just wanted to give a little bit of insight into what I found. I'm sure a lot of people could probably think of this on their own, so it wouldn't be like major rocket science or anything. But so far, I think the Witch Doctor seems like a very solid class, both for solo play, especially for solo play, but I can see it having a decent place in a group as an AoEer and crowd controller, for in case you have like crazy wacko barbarians trying to jump in packs of mobs and getting insta-gibbed. So far it seems pretty good. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I guess I'll see you for my next videos. Bye-bye.
In the end, it was a mortal heart that saved 2 worlds from ruin and cast down the prime evil forever. A new day breaks for both angels and men. for mankind's greatest champion, the Nephilim, rose to confront the darkness that we, in our pride, would not face. My brethren, I will take my place among you once again. But this time, as a mortal. Since justice has been met this day, I will now stand as wisdom. On behalf of those who risked all to save us. Forevermore, we shall stand together, angels and men, in the light of this glorious new